And again, we don't want to say there's torture in all domestic violence and trafficking cases, but a number of them, it meets the legal definition of what is widely accepted as torturous conduct in war, in many other contexts. So I think it's important for us not to use those words too lightly, slavery or torture or any of those, but to use them when it's relevant. And what I've certainly found as a lawyer, that when I am careful about my language, then when I do use it, the court pays attention. I'm not somebody who comes in all the time and every case is slavery, every case is torture. It's saying, okay, but Your Honor, this one was. That's why he tried to bribe our client and give her $30,000 not to testify. So he's got $30,000. We want that. We want that money. And we can't get it in the criminal case, so we're adding it as a tort claim as part of the divorce. I was telling them what happened, I guess it was at breakfast, where it just happened that our judge in that case was Jewish, and this guy was such a racist, our defendant. And so he went into the side room to scream at his lawyer, "That stupid judge, he's a Nazi, and he's never going to do what you want him to do. And he's not listening, and we need a different judge, and he's a fascist pig." And I'm like, yes, keep talking, keep yelling, because we're going to get our 30 grand. And I'm sure that's not why. This was a wonderful judge in other contexts, but sometimes the universe works with you with these. Any other questions?
One more question?
Yes.
I just was thinking about the last conversation. So is it then a misnomer to consider trafficking as modern-day slavery?
So very good question. Is it a misnomer to consider trafficking as modern-day slavery? I think we just have to be careful how we use that language. We're not, one of the things we want to do at our conference next week is, first of all, define trafficking. We find some people are using it instead of prostitution. All prostitution is not trafficking. And there's some wide feminist scholarship about prostitutes who say, no, I'm choosing to be a prostitute. And others who say, no, anybody who's a prostitute, this is automatically coercive and blah, blah. So I don't think we are trying to categorize all prostitution. But I think if we're very narrow in our definition of what is trafficking, then we could say, certainly, and I'm no big expert on trafficking yet by any stretch of the imagination, but the cases that I have worked on internationally, we have a case I just did an amicus brief on before the Inter-American Court on Human Rights, where clearly these are modern-day slavery. People have been kidnapped from their homes and forced into labor and sex work and not paid for that, either not at all or so little that there's no way they can flee and be on their own. So an exception might be, and this is what a lot of our law enforcement want to know, what if I have started out willingly, what we talked about a little bit. So it starts out more as smuggling, and when does it turn into trafficking? Well, maybe I've paid $10,000 for you to get me across the border, but then there's no way, maybe part of a lot what we see, the deal is I've only got $100 now. So as I work, I will pay that off. So then they get over into this country and the coyote, the trafficker says, well, I need to keep you under my eyesight, otherwise you're gonna, in Phoenix they always say, you're gonna go to Las Vegas, because I think everybody wants to go to Las Vegas. So I need to keep you under my eyesight. That's why I'm going to force you to live in this house under lock and key and turn tricks until you give me that $10,000. And some of them will even say it in court. Hey, as soon as she paid me that $10,000, I was going to let her go. But I had to keep her locked in that house. This was a contract. This was a verbal contract. You're a lawyer. You know about verbal contracts. Don't you love it when people try to tell you, justify horrific actions? And this is also where having the medical providers with us has been fabulous, where the injuries to these women and sometimes the men and the children are so horrific that this is clearly not anything consensual going on at all. And that has been powerful for some of the judges and some of the prosecutors who initially did not want anything to do with these. And if I can get the medical records in, and if I can explain to the victim, you don't have to testify. I understand it's going to be too terrifying and too dangerous. They're absolutely right. This big drug kingpin isn't going to let them sit there and talk without being killed when they leave the courthouse or whatever else, but at least to get the prosecutor motivated to take the case and then to get the victim's permission. Can I put in the medical records? Can I put in other evidence to show what's really going on? But it's a very good point about being careful with our language so that we're not rightfully accused of exaggerating or mischaracterizing what's going on.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, you're
wonderful
very
to
welcome.
bring your work with the power of your work here. Thank you on behalf of all of us.
Well, thank you. I'm honored and delighted. Thank you.